So, hi Max.
Hi.
Just want to hear something from you, and I've got an associate with me who will be asking a question or two.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
So if I look over that way, the associate's on that side. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Right. Brilliant.
There she is.
Okay, that would be good. So then if we can bounce off each other that way,
Yeah.
just a little bit, then it'll help me out, alright?
Yeah. That'd be brilliant.
Perfect. So I'm easy to do whatever you want to talk about.
Max, it is a real pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you.
Watched your videos, and your courage just shines through in everything that I've seen that you've done, and I really truly thank you for that and for speaking out.
Thank you for saying that. It was actually never my intention to do that. I think that because of circumstances in 2008, and I was so needed to find out what was happening to me, that I sort of that was the route that I had to go to try and find out stuff. So essentially, I started it and began doing it for sort of selfish reasons, really, and then it opened up, and then I wanted to help other people who'd been through anything that was even remotely similar to what I'd been through. So that's how that began.
So what advice would you give to anybody right now who is just starting that road of looking within and looking for answers?
Yeah. Definitely. There's so much confusion outside. There's so much confusion going on outside, and so many different people telling so many different things that, especially at the moment, what I've been trying to do, and people who I speak to, and friends of mine, and people who I work with, I have been the one thing that this particular consciousness stream that is controlling, or has its hands on controlling the planet at the moment, is vampiric in nature, which is vampiric. It's a taking energy. It's not giving energy. It doesn't have a central source where it cannot self-sustain. It has to take from others. So with all the confusion that's going on the outside, I started to find the best information when I was away from any other distractions, away from even other people, just being alone and actually allowing myself to be alone and just being with myself, without music, without television, without anything. And then sort of things, the longer I spent by myself just doing that, even without books or anything, because books are even a distraction, so things would start coming to me, and memories would start coming to me, and that sort of like quiet voice that's inside of you would start opening up, and there would be a clearer connection between me and it, even though it is one and the same thing. And like I said, there's so many different things and so many different people saying different things. I think that to start learning to trust yourself, and then you sort of take what feels right to you, and personally to you, and leave the rest alone and put the rest down. And that's what I did to start with. It didn't matter if somebody else said to me like, "This is it. This is for sure. This is this is how that happened, and this particular story, and this Anunnaki did this and that." Well, that didn't matter. Like, if it felt right to me, then I would take hold of that and then sit alone with that feeling, and sit alone with that information and see how it sat with me. My ears.
I understand that what you're saying there as well. But there's so much bombardment of external
especially
noise.
now. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with so many frequencies going on in this single area as well, and that can even be a distraction. But yeah, there's a lot of people who I don't like the ego part of this field either, where people I don't like the word followers, and that seems to come up a lot. I've got 5,000 followers, and okay, what does that really mean? I don't think anyone should really be following anybody. And you should perhaps look to self, and then trust self, and then you don't need to follow anybody.
Sure.
You sort of follow yourself. and you guide yourself. Because when you follow, so when you start following somebody, you're handing over your power. You're giving away your power. And the whole point and the whole mess that we're in the first place is that we've handed over our power to everybody else, and that's the issue. You know, the vampiric consciousness that is here has created religions or sport or philosophies or any of those. They don't care particularly which one you follow or which one you attach to. It's none of their business which one you do, but as long as you attach to one of them, because each one is connected to it's like a multi-headed, or maybe an octopus. So if there's a central point like that, so each of the strands come out, but they all lead to the same center point, which is a black hole essentially. It's a black hole that is pulling energy from people in any way, and they particularly like, you know, any of the religions, because that's precious energy that's given away like that. Even a lot of the big music gatherings that go on are set up ritualistically, so they don't care whether you're cheering or whether you're booing. It doesn't really matter as long as you're doing it strongly. So even Glastonbury is now set up in a specific way where the stage, it's all ritualistically done to pull energy from the people. And then they gather that energy, harvest it, and use it then to manifest the false reality that we're living in, because they can't create reality. They don't know. They don't have the creative spark themselves, but they do know how to manipulate the ones that do have it, and that's essentially what the deal is. They're manipulating this because it's the subconscious that creates the physical reality, and they've hijacked the subconscious of the real creators, and then now we're stuck in this false reality mess. There's a lot of complexities that go on exactly how that works, in my opinion, but yeah, that's what's going on with that.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I did that myself for a year. I cut out all external sources, including books,
Yeah.
and just went within
Yeah.
to unravel myself. And what was it that I believed rather than, and what did I know within myself rather than what I had been taught and told was reality.
Okay, so that's a very good point, because so the creation of this reality begins at the young age. So all the textbooks and all the history books are then written and so that we all collectively believe this particular thing. So then when we all believe it, we all manifest a reality that's based on these books.
Yes.
That's very sneaky and a very clever way to do it, because how do we know the textbooks are legit? They're not. The wars are written by the winners, aren't they? And so the winners write whatever they want to write in there, and then we just believe it. We take it on board. So we start learning that numbers and letters are. They only give us a very simple version of what numbers and letters are, and there's so much more to what numbers and letters are. Even phonetically, how a word sounds, how you say it when you speak, how it sounds to a person is going to affect them. It's not just a word. You know, I think I wrote the other day. You know, and I think people know this, but you spell a word because words are spells.
Yes.
You say a sentence to somebody, you're literally saying a spell, and words are that old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words names will never hurt me is not true.
Yes.
Yeah, because words are very, very powerful.
Yeah.
I go further and say thought matters.
Yeah.
Literally matters.
Yeah. Well, thought creates matter.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all our words
Yeah.
are endorsing that.
Yeah, reinforcing it all
Yeah.
the time. Reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You said something a moment ago to do with the vampirism that goes on this planet.
It is a vampiric
Yes,
consciousness.
absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
And from my own spiritual journey, I would say that is where we've forgotten who we truly are along the way, because we're self-sustaining when we're connected to our true self, directly to source.
Yeah.
And what religions do, and many of the other belief systems do, is it cuts us off from that, and we're placing our power to something else.
Yeah.
Rather than our own unique self.
Yes.
And when you mentioned followers,
Yes.
again, it's not about followers, because every one of those people are individuals with their own uniqueness to find.
Yes.
And what you're doing is sharing your uniqueness.
Yeah. Yes.
But you don't want people to copycat.
No, I don't. Definitely don't. And I want also people to discard what they don't agree with what I'm saying. If it doesn't fit for them, fantastic. Then let that bit go. That's okay as well. And I'm definitely nowhere near 100% correct. I know that I'm pointing in the right direction.
Yes.
That I definitely know.
Yes.
It is parasitic, the consciousness that's here. Sometimes I see it as imagery of like maggots, like a maggoty sort of energy that's sort of like it just eats through its mind is about its thought pattern is conquer and destroy, and that's what it does, and that's what it's done to other planets too. And that's what it's trying on this particular planet. They want us all as well to think that this is an insignificant place in the middle of a universe, in the middle of a super universe, a tiny little dot that's when it isn't. This particular planet, Earth, is an anagram for heart. So this planet here is the one that they want to take control of. So they want to take control of the heart. The human heart is connected to the earth, and that's the one that they can't. It's very easy to control the base chakra, because that's mainly what's driven through television and media all the time. That's all. Its base is always, primal energy, bestial energy is sort of always invoked, and they can sort of feed from that. But it's the heart energy that they really want. And they really want to take over. And
there are not many movies that are heart-based.
No, there's not. Real ones. And if there is, there's a sad. They'll hit you with a sad point in it, so you'll feel it. You'll feel pain there. Another thing with cinemas or movie theatres are all sacred geometrically set up to harvest energy from the people. So when you have a horror movie or some of the extreme nasty movies that have been coming out over the last 15-20 years, the people in there, when people shock like that, the movie theatres are set up perfectly sacred geometrically to then harvest the energy straight from the people in there, in the same principle as any mass gathering, right here and again. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that most of the populace do not understand is about energy.
No.
And how
we're not taught about it. We're not taught anything to do with that. But we're actually, we're either taught the atheistic scientific point of view or the Christian point. I know there are other religions as well, but I'm just saying in general, whether it's there's the God or there's the atheist. We're given those two, and that's it. We're not taught or told anything about how electromagnetic energy works, and really, this vampiric consciousness is using black magic to do what they do, and really magic is just the manipulation of electromagnetic energy with will and intent. Nothing else more than that. It's not anything else. It's through ritual. When you do a ritual, you then tag and you connect into the morphogenetic field of every other time anybody else has done that ritual before. So then that ritual is extremely powerful and extremely important to them. They're obsessive with that. They're based solely on the reptilian brain. We all have the reptilian brain, but they primarily work through that, and that is obsession and compulsion, and seek and destroy, and conquer, and like all the primal work. But it's also
It's
pure
very
intellect,
competitive as well.
totally and utterly, and it's competitive with the way that if you lose, then you die basically. Like the weak, they have no time for the weak. The weak will be taken out. They don't like that consciousness doesn't. If they have a child that is disabled or weak, they push it to the side and get rid of it, or they'll kill it. They're not interested. They're only interested in the strong. Strong survive. Which is like the opposite to what humanity is. Humanity, the human heart has compassion and cares about what the weaker or the disabled or that, and wants to make sure that they're protected and safe. So what they've managed to do, very calculatedly, is the word, is put two completely opposing consciousnesses into one body. So the human, like the mammalian, which cares for its young and feeds its young, and then the reptilian, which discards and does it and pushes it away, and put it into one body. And so human beings, in and of themselves, are at odds with each other, at odds with themselves as soon as they're born.
It's an inner battle.
Yes, all the time with all of us. Yeah, it doesn't fit. Those two consciousness streams don't fit together.
So listening to oneself,
Yeah.
turning off the noise, even if it's for half an hour each day, and allowing to understand and hear that inner voice, that inner knowingness, is vital.
Definitely.
Because that brings back to a neutral and a balance within ourselves and a connection to our true self as well.
Yeah, who you truly are, exactly.
Yeah.
And going back to the heart again, and I've been writing about that more recently, because like that is the final push. Like the great work of ages which has been going on for probably more than 20,000 years, really. I mean, the history that we're told is completely incorrect in every way. I mean, even down to like the cavemen, and that it's just not correct history. But so the great work was to conquer the human heart, the human being, can't be done overnight. It takes a long time of calculated planning to do it over, and these people they start a project that they know that won't be finished in their lifetime, because they know the bigger picture, and they know that they're working towards a grander plan, and the grand plan is to have a complete control of the human heart, and then the capstone can be placed on top.
And the thing is with humans as well, one of the beautiful endearing qualities I love about humans, which since the modern era has come along with technology and video games, compassion and empathy is something that humanity has been losing really fast. And I found that really disturbing, because that is an endearing part of being human.
Absolutely, yeah, no, definitely with video games, there's no doubt about that. Well, they use, especially like the Grand Theft Auto games, I don't know, like people definitely will know what they are. It allows you to go and be brutal as you like, on a very sort of realistic scene. You can go and attack just anybody on the street, and you can drive and you can run people over, and so it sort of starts to slowly erode the natural empathy that human beings have. That's just one of the angles that they're having to get rid of it. They don't want, they want to make us like them.
Yes, and it's desensitizing our natural state of being.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I've seen it myself where you've got somebody in the street being beaten up by somebody else, and everybody walks past. No one wants to get involved.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get one brave soul that will step in.
Yes.
When perhaps in the 70s and early 80s,
Completely
before
different.
all the technology came in, there would have been a lot of people that would have come to the
Definitely,
aid.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. There's been like a heavy push in the last like decade and a half to really, because their time's running out. They don't have very much time left. Excuse me, to put this plan into place. And it also ties into transhumanism, and you know, because if they can get tech into the human being, as much tech as they can into the human being, then they can start taking, you know, separating the heart faster. That's why, you know, there's a big push for atheism now. It's not none of my business what anybody believes, but there's a calculated agenda behind it.
Well, it's still cutting us off that
isolation.
we're only here and this is all we are.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's reinforcing that lie, that birth and death and that's it lie. Yeah. A lot of these guys don't want to die either, because then they sort of would have to face up a lot of stuff that they've done. So but they have technology. The technology that they have age regression technology, so they can do that stuff. A lot of the Third Reich is still continued on and still continued going. A lot of the programs that the children were involved in and that I was connected to in the 70s and 80s, they don't do that anymore. They don't do those particular ones anymore. They can program somebody through technology, so they can give them the memories to make them think that they went through those things and were traumatized. But they, you know, so that's good enough. If they think they were traumatized and they went through it, then that's good enough to make them split the mind and, you know, disassociate the mind, because it's all about disassociation. Disassociation is a big key to all of this, you know, because, you know, when you disassociate somebody, they then don't know what they did, and then they can, you know, that's where trigger words come in, and Manchurian Candidate based type stuff comes in, and it's they learned. I did believe that the Zeta, which is the almond-eyed greys that we call, gave particular group of human beings the information in the more precise information, because I know they've been doing disassociation, because if you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it explains in that particular book how that they were using potions or drugs and trauma to disassociate back then, but they refined it big time during the Second World War. But I think that information was given from the Zeta to them, to how to honeycomb split the mind. So what the children went through in these particular projects, the children were picked from specific bloodlines, which is connected to Project Oak Tree, where so they found certain mothers from certain bloodlines connected to different streams, because they're looking for specific DNA from specific bloodlines to traumatize. They found the mothers, and then the mothers who were born in the 50s, their children were born in the 70s and 80s. Those were the ones who were like they were the original ones that were shattered that way. And then, you know, I think I've explained a little bit about it before, where of how and why, you know, what trauma-based mind control is and why it's used, and shattering the mind through extreme trauma.
What sort of techniques have you been doing yourself? You know, just something that maybe help others that are listening
techniques,
to this.
in terms of what? In terms of self-healing?
Self-healing and overcoming this disassociation.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. You've got to have somebody. You have to have work with somebody that you really trust, and you've got to find somebody that will understand you and understand. And you've got to find somebody that really loves you, because you know what comes along with people who've been through these projects is extreme personalities, and you know, addiction is directly tied to all of this stuff. So you have all of these rehabs that are all, especially in the US, a lot of them are, you know, reprogramming centers, because they know that they're going to magnetically draw to them people who've been through these projects, because trauma-based mind control creates addiction. Sexual abuse creates opiate addiction. And so you know that, so they know what they're doing. It's like they do it, then they create the problem, and the solution is there, but it's their solution. Then they draw them to it. And if somebody starts to wake up, or somebody starts to realize, you know, what's going on, they gather them in, pull them in again.
And so they're reprogramming as well.
Do some tweaking again to make sure that they, you know, so that, because if somebody wakes up too much, they're either going to make sure they're not around anymore, or maybe they'll either kill them, or they'll assassinate their character, or they will make them seem as if they're completely insane, so nobody pays any attention to what they say.
And we've seen some of that with some of the Hollywood stars.
What, absolutely 100%. Yeah, lots of them. Lots of them. When the programming breaks down, it's pretty intense, you know, because it will throw you into a spin like nothing else, like you've literally, you know, you've lost your mind. And that's happened to quite a few Hollywoods. I mean, Britney Spears is a good example, actually. Interestingly enough, like the name Spears, her birthday as well is 12/2. And so there's the 2-2 connection as well. So yeah, her breakdown was interesting. I mean, not in if you're looking at it as a study, as a study guide, you know.
Is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners about your hopes for humanity?
Yeah. Okay. I believe, and I truly believe this, I believe that the war is already finished, and I believe that we already overcame it, and it's done already. The majority of the work has been done by the volunteer consciousness that has come down here to help waken everybody up. The majority of the work has been done, so now we're just playing it out, but the storyline is being played out, and we're watching, and it is a storyline. It is a storyline. Everything that you watch on the television that's going on with politics is a storyline. Okay.
Okay. For myself, I'm seeing the time we're in right now is very pivotal for great change for humanity, and it's a raising conscious awareness, which is really vital.
Yes.
What hopes do you have? What dreams do you see for humanity, to where the potentials it could lead to?
The potentials it could lead to. I think that choices have already been made by everybody that's here, whether or not they're going to continue doing the same, stay in the same dualistic time loop, master-slave reality. If they haven't learned the lessons from that, then their higher self will maybe choose to stay in that. So they would go to a frequency where that would continue. So they would relearn the lessons of that. The upside of it. So there's ones who've chosen to stay here, that will stay on this planet, stay in the heart, which is, Earth is the heart, and create a new paradigm, a paradigm which, because this paradigm is completely inverted in every possible sense. Everything that is here, everything they do is inverted. The justice system, the teaching system, the political system is all inverted, perfectly inverted. They even speak inversion. Basically, the way they speak, you can pretty much be sure what they say. If you go with the exact opposite, then you're going to get the truth. So we can build a new paradigm, but we'd have to all align our consciousness with a lot I mean, I was going to say loving nature, but that's sort of maybe too
about
simple.
Contribution as well, where we're all
And
contributing.
to a giving
our
nature,
gifts.
or yeah, a giving, a natural giving and taking nature, which would then create a paradigm of compassion and empathy and kindness, and so where everybody sort of takes care of everybody else because they understand that you are actually me. And that we have an intrinsic understanding of that, so you would never want to harm yourself. So it's a lot of healing has to be done to self, to know that you know that you can be kind to yourself and loving to yourself, and then you can create a paradigm where it's just naturally giving and taking and balanced, and so we sort of like align ourselves that way.
Yeah, I would say it was. Giving, sharing, allowing, accepting.
Acceptance, yes, yeah, definitely.
And celebrating everybody and their uniqueness and what they have to offer as well. Everybody's got something to offer.
Something magical to offer,
yes.
Yeah, totally. And accepting that, I agree with you. Celebrating the little things, the tiny things about everybody, and you know, obviously the way that the construct of this particular paradigm that we're in at the moment is the opposite of that, where people are picking and pointing and blaming. Blame is such a huge part of this paradigm. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the fact that certain things happen to them. I mean, it's not okay that those things happened, but there has to be an element of responsibility. You know, we have to understand that we are building our own reality. We are on a collective level. We're building. You know, the way I see it was so humanity is shattered into a single consciousness shattered into a billion different pieces, but it's all the same. It's all the same piece. Really. So if once there is an understanding of that, a true understanding, not just a knowing, I know that, true understanding of it, then because we're the ones who are building the reality, you know, this vampiric consciousness that's attached itself to the heart, it's like an attachment, literally. It's like, I always see it as an octopus, actually, like that, and it's so you have the heart, and this octopus is like attached itself to it. And the heart is the earth, so you can maybe see it like that, and it's draining and sucking from it, you know. And if it can only do it if we allow it to do it, though, because we're the ones who are building here. That it doesn't build. So if we, like you said earlier on, come to understand and accept. A lot of it again is like nobody accepts themselves. Nobody really truly accepts themselves. You know, we are all finding imperfections and you know, when we do truly accept ourselves, that vampiric consciousness will sort of cease to exist anymore, because it can only exist if we don't like ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And this is part of it's just the id, or the dark side of self. Really, it's just a reflection of the way we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
So if we change the way that we feel about ourselves, it will change.
Yeah, we're talking about shadow work now.
Yeah.
And identifying our shadow self.
And not hating it.
Yes.
Not hating it, because hating it only empowers it.
Yes.
Actually understanding it and accepting it and knowing it, it's sort of like embracing it in a sense, really. Sort of embrace it, it will then cease to be parasitic.
And I think also, for myself, I've done a lot of shadow work. And one of the prime things for myself in understanding myself was observing myself. Really, very sincerely. No excuses. And looking at how I behave and what needs that I am demanding outside of myself upon others each day. And
that's a hard thing to do, actually, to look at yourself and to look at to really look at the actions that you do to others. It's a big thing, and I think most people are so caught up in the mess, they sort of don't have time to, and a lot don't want to either, because if you do that, then you have to take responsibility. And that's, people really would rather say, look, it's your fault, because then it's like quick and over that way. Yes.
I know this is all part of loving ourselves into life.
Yeah.
When we're doing shadow work as well.
Yeah.
Because for such a long time we have been governed by religions, and we're sinners or what have you, and feeling bad about ourselves, and we have a lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
Anything that, when I have been going through the process of my own shadow work, it's not to beat myself up on anything. It's just a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not a mistake. It's just a mistake
Mm-hmm.
on understanding something, and I can change that. I have the power within myself to always change that.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that I imagined myself into existence. So I thought myself here in the first place. If I thought myself here, then I can think myself into anything that I want to think myself into. And so then if that's true, then that means we can do that as a collective as well.
Yes.
We can think ourselves out of the situation that we're in.
Beautiful. Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Yes. And I really believe that. It's just... It does seem a lot harder than it actually is, and I think it's actually quite simple to do. I just think that people are not maybe so once you're alone, and once you get into that place and alone where there's no distractions, that's when you can start identifying and doing those things to get to that point.
Yes.
And that's the beginning, and so that's where we start from the beginning. That's how to start doing it. I think it's important as well to not go the guru route and not start. I said the following thing.
Well, that goes back into need again.
Yeah.
And what I understand, I've really defined need.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's part of the altered ego that just runs riot and trashes everybody, because we need and drawing off of so we're the vampires too.
Yeah.
Amongst each other.
Yes.
And the alternative community I've seen completely argue and break down in the last number of years, which is very upsetting to see, when actually we should all be working together, and we've all got a common theme. We all want a better future. For this planet, and for humanity. It's also been
infiltrated, though. You remember, so that like this whole, you've got multiple agent provocateurs in there,
of course,
who are set there to very, very, very carefully and calculatedly placed into certain positions, and you've got to be very wary of anybody who is becoming who is sort of mainstream in doing that. Because once you're mainstream in doing it, you're sort of under the octopus sort of control.
Yes.
I don't know then how. It's an interesting thought how you would be able to do it then, because as soon as something, it depends who's backing you. Like I'm just talking about. I'm not naming names. I'm just talking about the bigger names of people who are doing this. Who are doing this thing. It's where the money's coming from and who's backing that. And whoever's backing it, you got to look at that. And
always follow the money.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's creating that, then you can be pretty sure that it's leading in the wrong direction.
Yes.
And then just all it's doing is creating the same thought pattern issues and prisons that we've got in all the other systems that are going on. So then it just turns this alternative scene into a religion.
Yes.
Infighting in religion or infighting in politics. It becomes the same thing. So how to avoid that? How to avoid that would be to not follow, to not you know, to be in groups, but to understand your individuality as well, and to appreciate and respect that, and make sure to not hand your power over to somebody else, and say, okay, so this person says it, then it is true. Yes, it's just like critical, because if you do that, then you're just slipping back into the old ways, and that's the old paradigm. We're trying to create a new paradigm where that doesn't exist.
Yes.
I think we're doing a good job. I think we can do it, and I know we've done it. I know we're going to do it.
Yes.
So it's going to unfold, and it's going to work out. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I think also with groups and people, I think everybody's trying to find somebody that thinks exactly the same as they do.
Yeah.
But we all think slightly differently. We're never going to agree on absolutely everything.
Right.
And I think allowing another person's truth, and that person allowing my truth, and I allow your truth, and so on, if we all do that as well, but we've got this common goal that we want a betterment for everybody that's living on this planet.
Yeah.
A fairer system where everybody can grow and everybody can feel supported, because at the moment I see humanity is just worn torn, and it doesn't know where to go. It doesn't know who they are. They've completely forgotten. They don't even know their nature anymore.
Well, yeah, it's definitely that you could call this planet the planet of amnesia. That's for sure. Like, where everybody's walking around having no clue who they really are. You know, finding out. You know, definitely looking. You know, they saying like that was been pushed in the X-Files of like the truth is out there. So the truth is actually right here, not out there.
Truth is in here.
Yeah, exactly. Not out there. You don't have to go searching outside.
Yes.
It's all already layered in your cells and in your DNA and in your core self and in your soul self. It's there already. So it's about going inside. So there's a bit of trickery there.
Yes.
But you know, by using that and then them replaying or restarting up the X-Files again.
They've not been very good. First episode was
weak, really.
It was better than the others.
But but what if they're layering into that show that 9/11 was an inside job. Then you got to question what's the motives behind that. Do they want to get that information out truly? I think perhaps they do. So because what they're trying to do is create. So their motto is ordo ab chaos, which means order out of chaos. So that in the final stages of their plan, they want to have as much chaos as possible. Much chaos as possible, including a race war, which they've been trying to put together for a long time.
What I've noticed as well since 9/11 is the paranoia. And no one trusts anyone.
No.
You smile in the street to a stranger, there is suspicion immediately in many people's minds, and thinking, are you about to mug me?
Yeah, I know.
You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It was just a friendly smile. Well, you used to do that all the time.
I know, yeah.
You know, and people also, you could be on the underground, on the trains, everybody's plugged into something. There's no conversations, there's no interaction, and we as humans are sociable. We're sociable creatures.
Well, technology is also about isolating. They want to isolate as much as possible, so that you don't connect with one another. They definitely don't want you to connect with one another at all. Because if you do, that's why the languages were created in the first place. Because if we all got together and discussed why this is going on, why that's going on, we'd sort of come to the truth a lot faster. So the languages were another trick. Also, a language gives you a different perspective on how things literally look and seem and feel, and how you would respond to it. So somebody who speaks French or German would have a different perception of the planet itself because of the phonetics and because of the sounds of words. Like earlier on I said about phonetics is so important. Not just the spelling, the sounds, then also create. They've embedded within the words little things, little tricks to which are like all the symbols that are, so they speak right brain, you know, they communicate through right brain thinking, which is all symbols and sigils. That's how they speak to, that's how they communicate to each other. All those symbols we already know in our mind, we already know what they are. The one that they use a lot is a triangle with a circle around it. That symbol was created by the Lucis Trust. I'm trying to think of her name now. Who started it? I can't think of her name. Maybe I'll think of it.
Alice Bailey?
Yes, Alice Bailey started the Lucis Trust. Right. Well, that symbol with the an upward triangle is male and a downward triangle is female. So a triangle like that with the circle around it means the male contained. So the male energy contained. And if you want to attack and take over a planet, you have to first of all take out the strong alpha males first, because then it's easier to take over. So this was all about, there's an agenda which is about trying to effeminize males as much as possible, so that the warriors, the male warriors of the planet, are weakened that way, so they can't fight back as much. I've noticed that they use that symbol with the triangle with the circle around it for restrooms. I see it all the time for restrooms. I don't know why.
That's peculiar, isn't it?
Yeah. Why are they putting it on there for that? It's also the symbol for Alcoholics Anonymous. They all wear the triangle with the circle around it. So what are they doing in... I'm not knocking any of the anonymous groups, because I know that they've done like wonderful things for people, and they definitely have. But why are they using that symbol, which is the containment of the male? I don't know why.
And also the subconscious understands that symbol far better than what our
all of us
brain
understand the symbols they're using, just maybe not not consciously, but subconsciously we do. So they can speak to us through that way, and they do every day, all day, through. I've noticed with commercials too that when you have a block of commercials, they're not individual anymore. They're all connected together. They've honed down the mind control techniques so much that I can watch them and I can see how each one of the commercials is connected to each other, and how each one of the commercials is also connected to the television show that is on as well.
Yes.
So they're sort of balancing it in, and it is a massive bombardment of symbology that goes on through like TV now, and very fast changes, camera shifts, like this, which then invokes that after watching television for something like 15 minutes, it puts the mind into like a beta state. So which is like you go into a dream or a hypnotized dream state. So then it can then speak directly to your subconscious. So you watch a television show, a particular television show, before you go to bed and you go to sleep. You have then been astrally programmed to do something in astral by the television program.
Yes.
And we haven't even covered.
And that's quite a labyrinth, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the astral.
Oh, totally. But I believe that the astral realm, which is the 4D, is pretty much taken over. They have pretty much control of all of 4D as well. But it's still, they have all their meetings, and all the governmental meetings and all of the political stuff is all held in the astral realm. They don't need to get on a plane and fly from one country to another to go and do it. There are certain hotels that you can go and stay in, and you stay in a certain room, and then you go to sleep in that room, and then that will bring you to the certain point in the astral realm.
Wow.
Yeah. So they got that down. So because the hotels, like the Hilton.
Will they be on a certain point?
Yeah,
of
exactly. All the Hilton hotels are used for that. And if you look at the symbol for that at the Hilton, it's an H, okay, which means a gate. Anyway, H is 8, and it's a symbol for a gate or a stargate. and it had where it crosses the edge like this, it swirls around like a snake. So the Hilton hotels are used for meetings, elite, not good.
No.
Elite meetings, yeah. A lot of ritualistic stuff goes on underneath the Hilton hotels too. Yeah. So even the name Hill Tone, it has something to do with tone. Okay, so the tone, tone is a frequency. So it's they're built on specific frequency lines. So they always tell you what they're doing. They're always very clear. And
going back to the TV,
yeah.
because I remember in a recent interview, I believe, you said you'd given up TV. You know, you weren't watching TV. You
watched it. I took a break from it for a while. Yeah. I noticed when I stopped watching it. I noticed. I stopped watching regular television, like television shows like that. I still I like movies. I would watch movies still, but I didn't watch the regular TV that where you watch a show and then there's commercials. And I stopped doing that.
Well, I switched off the TV when analog went. I refused to go digital, so I think it's about 8 years now.
Yeah,
something
it's been
like
a
that.
while, hasn't it? Yeah.
And so I've been without TV, but when I go to a shop or somewhere where they've got a TV on the dentist's room or something like that, I have been shocked on how fast adverts and even movies and TV programs, it's also aggressive now. Because I've been without it.
Yeah.
It's just this noise, and it feels like it's just attacking my energy fields and my own thought patterns, and it's a bombardment.
Well, they've slowly, remember that to implement any of these things, they do it in a drips, like slowly do it.
But they've ramped it up now.
What they did, especially with animation, because animation is magic too. It's
but look at the Disney films.
Well, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But with shows like Family Guy, it's extremely vile. I mean, it's become South Park. It's become extremely vile, and they say these are cartoons made for adults. But they know full well if it's a cartoon that kids are going to be drawn to it. So you've got young children watching extremely vile things. And one thing I couldn't believe on Family Guy, there's one of the characters is like a pedophile, and it's funny, and it's supposed to be funny. It's laughed at.
How is that funny?
The guy, this is an old man who is predatorial to the children. And
so it's normalising it.
Yes.
I mean, what I've noticed myself.
So that's part of the New World.
Yes.
Part of their New World system is to totally normalise that pedophilia, and they're slowly making children more adult.
Yeah.
So that they're
but
dressing up.
Sexualising children for quite some time.
Yeah, but it's really pushed now, and when you have also. Celebrity couples with their children saying they're not sure what gender they are.
At 5 years old, how does a child know?
And a child hasn't developed.
Yes.
So how couldn't possibly know?
I mean, I have been keeping abreast with all that's been coming out in the last couple of years to do with paedophilia.
Yeah.
Around the world, it's not just isolated in certain countries; it's just everywhere.
Yes.
And I've been quite dismayed, actually, how many people, humans, ordinary Joe Blogs, I don't know if they just don't know how to handle it, or they don't understand it, or they're believing the media saying, oh no, that was just a nonsense and things. The amount of children that are going missing each year around the world.
It's unbelievable.
Where are the parents for all the, there should be outrage. Everybody knows about Magdalene.
Madeline.
But where are all these other parents?
Right.
And there should be questions.
Hundreds of thousands of children go missing a year.
Humanity, for it to exist and continue on, should be looking after their young, because our young are our future.
Well, yes, definitely. But the attack on the children is to attack the innocence of the human being. In attacking the innocence then attacks the heart.
Yes.
So that's another attack on the heart of the human being. Yeah, it's really, really awful. And essentially what they do to children is what's being done to human beings, the human race as a collective. We're being abused as a collective that way.
Yes.
So it's just a microcosm of what is being done on a grand scale. One reflects the other.
Yes.
It always does.
I know, I've been absolutely heartbroken
Yeah.
over this last couple of years with all that's been. I knew it went on. Even for myself, it took me a while to be brave enough to really dig down into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to go to. I mean, and it's coming out, and since Savile came out, that's a big deal. But
that didn't go far enough. It's kind of
people
been
sort of
covered
don't.
up as well.
People sort of still don't accept it though.
Yes.
They don't want to believe that their idols from when this was very calculated. This is done very calculated. This was done to once again break the human heart. So you have all these people that we grow up with watching on television who we think are wonderful and great, and then it was set up so that 20 years down the line we find out that they're actually predatorial, despicable human beings. That's a hit on the heart again, and so people don't want to accept that. And I even did a post the other day connected to another celebrity that had died. There was a string of celebrities that seemed like died all of a sudden, and who I believe is connected to this ring that connected to the BBC, and people were outraged and angry that I would dare to say that this public figure who had been so seemingly wonderful all the years would even do anything like that. People don't want that. People don't want. A lot of people would even rather die than that be true.
But we're living in the era now of truth and transparency. That's where we're moving into, and so there is going to be a pain and readjusting of understanding how reality has been working behind the scenes for a very long time.
We're going through into the mode of where the unseen becomes seen.
Yes.
And it's like the veil completely gets pulled away.
Yes.
So that is going to be in and of itself traumatizing to the collective mind. So it's and I actually believe that some people are not even when it's right in front of their face, still not going to believe it.
I think for those that do listen and do start seeing reality as it is, rather than the fairy tale that we've been led to believe,
right?
it's so important for us all to support each other when we're going through this, because it is tough.
Yeah, definitely, and to support, first of all you have to accept it to be true before you can support.
Yes.
So if you don't accept it to be true, then even all the stuff that's come out, in the the years after the Savile thing, there's more and more information. Unbelievably disturbing things that he did. Connected with dead bodies and connected with. He would have keys to psych wards, and people don't. That sort of is too much for them to get to understand, so they won't do it. And so where are we at? So where are we at with that? How much can people take? And there has to be a grieving process too. Because it's as the old paradigm dies, we all have to grieve over the death of the way that we thought things were, and then moving into the new will then it will be amazing, but you have to sort of let go of the old first, otherwise you're not going to go into the new.
And I think that's strength for us to move on into that new place. Goes right back to what we began with, and that was about loving ourselves into life. And going within and really defining within ourselves, what do I know? What do I feel is right? What does my soul tell me?
Yes.
It's not just what someone's saying on the TV.
Right. No. That's
Yeah.
the guru thing.
Is there anything else that, because we're just about to wrap up
Yeah,
now, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? You know,
I want to leave you with the fact that it is going to be all right, and then we are going to come through this, and the transition into the new is going to be intense, and it is gonna get a little bit worse before it gets better, but it has to. It's sort of a wound that has to be addressed, looked at, and then healed, and so there's the healing process that goes along with that, but it's like an amazing journey. This is the most amazing time to be alive ever in history.
Yeah.
This has never happened before like this. It's never happened quite like this before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of souls that have come down here just to experience this awakening point of where human beings realize, hang on a second, none of what we've been told is true at all. We've been lied to all along by this particular consciousness that's doing this. And another time we can address that particular consciousness and why and what it is.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it's onwards and upwards into the future and creating a beautiful future for everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. It's in the hands of the people. We're the creators. They aren't the creators.
Yes.
They can't create. We can. Take responsibility and create for ourselves.
Thank you so much, Max.
No, you're very welcome. It was lovely.
Real
Thank
pleasure.
You. Pleasure talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It was brilliant.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Okay.